All right, today we are talking about a guy who basically hit the reset button on, well, all of Western philosophy. René Descartes. He dared to question everything. And believe me, in doing that, he totally changed how we think about truth, about reality, even about our own selves. So let's just dive right in.
So let me ask you something. How can you be absolutely 100% sure you're not dreaming right now? No, seriously, think about it for a second. Everything you see, everything you feel, couldn't it all just be a super elaborate illusion? This isn't just some random question you'd ask late at night. Nope. This is the exact question that kicked off a massive philosophical revolution. And it was all aimed at one single thing: finding absolute, unshakable certainty.
Now, to really get just how radical Descartes was, you've got to picture the world he lived in. We're talking the 17th century. Back then, knowledge wasn't about what you could prove yourself. Not at all. It was about who you could quote. Truth was basically handed down from these ancient authorities, guys like Aristotle, and of course, the church. And your job, well, you just accepted it, no questions asked.
But Descartes? Yeah, he wasn't having any of that. He wasn't interested in just standing on the shoulders of giants. He wanted to tear the whole building down and build a brand new foundation. In fact, he famously said he was going to write about emotions as if no one had written on these matters before. I mean, talk about confidence. He was literally wiping the entire slate clean.
So who was this guy, this architect of certainty? Well, his tools weren't stone and mortar. They were pure logic and a really intense, methodical doubt. And his goal? Oh, it was ambitious, all right. He wanted to build a completely indestructible fortress of knowledge, one single, unshakable truth at a time.
Okay, so a little background. Descartes was born in France in 1596, and he was, a total genius, a brilliant mathematician and scientist. But the real turning point, the moment that changed everything, happened one night, November 10th, 1619. He was stationed as a soldier, and he has these three incredibly intense dreams, and he became convinced they were a divine revelation showing him this whole new way to find truth just by using reason.
After that night, his mission was crystal clear. He had to find a starting point for knowledge that was absolutely, positively, 100% impossible to doubt. So he developed this technique, which we now call Cartesian doubt. And the rule was simple, but it was brutal. If you could find any reason to doubt an idea, any reason at all, you had to throw it out. Gone.
And he didn't just wing it. He actually created a toolkit for this whole process. In his book, Discourse on the Method, he laid out these 4 rules. You can think of them as a blueprint for how to think clearly. So, Rule 1, only accept what is absolutely undeniably true. Rule 2, break down big problems into smaller, manageable parts. 3, start with the simplest ideas and build your way up to the more complex ones. And finally, Rule 4, be super thorough. Make sure you haven't missed a single thing. This was his step-by-step guide to finding certainty. So with this method, this intellectual toolkit, Descartes goes to work. And he just starts demolishing every single belief he's ever held. He's like a wrecking ball of doubt, searching through the rubble for that one single brick that just won't break, that first solid piece of ground in what seemed like an ocean of uncertainty. So what's the first thing to go? His senses. Think about it, right? A stick in a glass of water looks bent. Buildings in the distance look tiny. His logic was, if my senses can fool me even once, then how can I trust them to be a reliable foundation for absolute truth? I can't. So, boom, the senses are out.
But he didn't stop there. Oh no, he took it a step further. He started to question his own body. His hands, his feet, are they real? I mean, he pointed out that he's had dreams that felt just as real as being awake. So how could he possibly know for sure that he wasn't dreaming at this very moment? That his physical body wasn't just some phantom in that dream? The answer was, he couldn't. So that had to go too.
Okay, so this is where it gets really, really cool. He's at the edge of the cliff, right, staring into this abyss of total uncertainty. And then he has this incredible realization. Even if he's doubting everything, even if some evil demon is tricking him about the entire universe, there's one thing that demon can't fake: the fact that he is the one doing the doubting. The very act of thinking, of doubting, proves that a thinker must exist. And that was it. That was the foundation. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. The one truth he couldn't possibly doubt.
So, I think, therefore I am. The Cogito, it wasn't the finish line, not even close. It was the starting block. With that one solid brick of truth firmly in place, Descartes began to rebuild everything.
an entire world of knowledge, but this time based only on pure reason. Okay, so from that one single starting point, I exist as a thinking thing, he reasoned that the whole universe must be made of two completely different kinds of stuff. On one side, you have the mind, what he called res cogitans. That's the thinking stuff, it's consciousness, it's thought, and it doesn't take up any physical space. And on the other side, you've got matter, or res extensa, the physical stuff, anything that has length, width, and height. This big idea, this split, is his super famous theory, Cartesian dualism.
And the implications of this idea were absolutely revolutionary. By splitting the mind from the body, Descartes essentially turned the entire physical world, including our own bodies, into a kind of complex machine. And this was huge. Why? Because it meant that scientists could go ahead and study anatomy, physics, the mechanics of the body without getting in trouble for messing with the sacred territory of the soul. It basically gave science a green light and really helped pave the way for modern medicine.
And this powerful method of his, this pure reason, it wasn't just for philosophy. Descartes applied that exact same logical, step-by-step process to mathematics. And guess what? The results were just as mind-blowing.
You can see his genius in something you probably had to learn in math class, analytic geometry. He came up with the Cartesian Coordinate system. Yeah, the XY-axis graph, that's him. And what it did was incredible. It connected algebra and geometry. It showed that you could describe physical shapes using algebraic equations. It was a massive leap forward, and it laid the foundation for guys like Isaac Newton and the invention of calculus.
So, when you look back, Descartes' whole project of radical doubt, it did way more than just find one tiny piece of certainty. What it really did in the end was provide the intellectual blueprint for the entire modern world.
And here's the monumental shift. He fundamentally changed the question everyone was asking. It went from what is true to what can I be certain of? See the difference? In doing that, he ripped the source of truth away from outside authorities, like the church or old books, and placed it right inside the mind of the individual. Suddenly, you, the thinker, became the ultimate judge of what is known.
I mean, his impact was just immense. They don't call him the father of modern philosophy for nothing. His ideas helped build the foundation for the scientific revolution. They lit the fuse that became the Enlightenment, with its huge emphasis on reason. And he basically handed us our modern concept of the self, this idea of being a conscious, rational, individual person.
So how did the old establishment react to all this? Well, here's a little clue. In 1663, 13 years after he died, the Pope put every single one of Descartes' books on the Index of Prohibited Books. If that's not a sign of just how dangerous and revolutionary his ideas were, I don't know what is.
But in the end, Descartes left us with a huge puzzle, one we are still wrestling with today. If your mind is this non-physical thinking thing, and your body is just a physical machine, how in the world do they connect? Where does that I from I think actually live? It's a question that gets to the very heart of who we are, and it's all part of the legacy left by the man who dared to doubt everything.